There's one thing in particular that I think most everybody overlooks when it comes to this market. And because of it, a lot of people are totally misunderstanding an entire asset class. This is really similar to how in the early days of Bitcoin, most finance investors overlooked Bitcoin because they were looking at it through an old lens of how they believed assets are supposed to behave rather than seeing the innovation they had. So, there's this one thing. Without it, a lot of the market won't make sense, but with it, I think that it really helps to see what's coming, see how the market's evolving, yada yada. But before we get into that, I know most people are coming into this pretty blind, so I want to set the stage for how it was for me too. Because, before I ever started learning about the market, I was overwhelmed. I had been thinking of getting into the market for months, but it just seemed overwhelming. It seemed like a whole new language, and so it was something that I just had in the back of my mind, sort of. One thing that really pushed me over the edge or gave me the energy to start moving forward was a tweet from somebody that said, if you've been looking to get into the market for a while, to just ask AI to explain the market to you like a 5-year-old. And this was really helpful because it was able to help me get, my foot in the door, help me begin to understand the market. And then from there, I was able to ask deeper questions, do my own research, and so on and so forth. But what makes my journey different than everybody else's, because everyone's going to have a different experience with crypto and what it is and what it means. What makes my journey different is how I came into the market wanting to master it and having a list of questions prepared as I sat down. And not just this, but it's exactly which questions I asked and how I went about answering these questions. How much critical thinking I personally put into these questions as well. So, whether you're new, whether you already know a lot about the market, most people in the market misunderstand what gives these tokens and communities value. Now, if you go ask anybody today within the market, a term you'll often hear is, what are the tokens? Tokenomics. They're looking at the token supply, how much is available, how much is in circulation, and like what is the utility, what is the use of the coin? Because historically, most coins have promised different utilities, such as our coin you can use in real life with our company to vote for said thing, like a governance token, or this token is going to be used with this new company's protocol and yada yada yada. So typically utility is a part of a token's tokenomics that help people gauge, well, how much value does this bring? The thing is, 98% of the money in the market is not on meme coins. It's on other things. Less than 2% of the money in the market is on memes. So, why is no money on meme coins? Why are they seen as having no utility? Well, the utility they offer is just different than what is typical within the market. They still have utility. One big reason that there's not a lot of money on meme coins is the fact that they haven't had the chance to really prove themselves yet, and they are the most emergent asset class. They're the latest asset class, the most innovative asset class. So they're an evolution of what came before them, right? So it's going to take a little more time for them to really solidify themselves. But what's actually been happening is that the asset class of meme coins has actually been evolving into basically culture coins, pure belief assets, movement coins, whatever you want to call them. But it looks like, now before we even say culture coin, I'd say it looks like they're really evolving into movement coins and pure belief assets. So where is their value coming from, right? Most people are going to tell you they don't have value, they don't have utility, they're just the meme. But we know that we need a new definition of what utility is, because we've seen things like Dogecoin run to 100 billion with no utility. So we need to reinterpret what utility means in this market. Now, it starts getting a little more complex or deep, but basically what you need to understand is that you can tokenize any idea. And it doesn't need to have utility in order to run to any sort of number or any sort of height. All it needs is a community of people that believe in it. So, to me, the big question that sets my learning experience apart from other people's is the fact that I asked, what gives these tokens value? What gives these communities value? And most people might go ask that to people in the market, or ask it to Google, or go ask YouTube, and they'll be met with the answers from people in the market explaining tokenomics, explaining that the supply needs to be a certain way, of course, and then also explaining, oh, well, it needs all this utility, right? So me, when I asked this, what gives these tokens value, what gives these value, rather than going and fetching an answer, I just asked myself one step deeper. What gives things in real life value? What gives physical things value? What makes us hold on to things in real life? And to me, answers started popping up immediately, right? Love, loyalty, personal connection, passion, when things are useful, when I want to collect something because it has personal meaning to me. There's all sorts of things that make us value and hold the things we value and hold, whether that's people, whether it's objects, whether it's experiences. So me asking these questions and diving deeper within myself rather than going and just fetching the answers from other people, I was able to quickly get an understanding of truly what tokenization is and what it can be. Right now, while most people in the market are thinking that these coins need some sort of utility, I was able to quickly and early on get, an understanding that you can tokenize truly anything and have it be successful. Because utility and being useful is not what gives things value in real life always. Sometimes it's just the virtues, the loyalty, the passion, etc. So I was beginning to understand what these communities and tokens could be, which is basically anything. So with this understanding, me coming into the market as a fresh mind, I was able to already begin to grasp what's happening with meme coins and what can continue to happen with meme coins. And like I said, it's an asset class that's been evolving into movement coins and different things. And the best assets that we've been seeing for the past couple years are this asset class. And typically when we see an emerging asset class with a couple dominant leaders, when the market eventually moves, all the coins move together. Everything's tied to Bitcoin, right? Imagine it like a bunch of water currents, all all flowing together. When one current pumps, the rest of them pump. Everything is tied to Bitcoin to a degree. So when, assets can break away from Bitcoin, they can grow on their own with or without it. But in general, when Bitcoin moves or goes up or down, the rest of the market moves in certain ways as well. But it's a winner-take-all market. And what this means is when things really start to rise, well, it's not like 401k or whatever else. It's not like assets where you can't move your money immediately. People can move their tokens lightning fast in this market. And so when it starts to heat up and people see a certain community that's doing better than every other community day after day after day, everybody just dog piles onto it. So when you have these narrative of the cycle, narrative of the bull runs, and they finally take off, this is why you see certain communities do 100x moves plus. It's from this pressure that builds up in the market every couple of years. And then by design, it's all digital, so everybody's able to transfer their funds, their assets immediately. So there are a lot of things that are just not fully understood yet by the public when it comes to this market. But it's important to understand this market's still early. There's only about $2.6 trillion in the market right now. Meanwhile, there's over 900 and there's around $1,000 trillion on Earth, $1 quadrillion. The crypto market's like a tiny, tiny, puny fraction of it, and it's still setting insane records, and it has expected growth like no other. And this is something that just the general public does not understand. They don't understand why. They don't understand what gives this value. Oh, if I can't touch it, if I can't hold it, why does it hold value? Well, you're on the internet most of your day. Many of us. You're not going to tell me the internet doesn't have value just because you can't touch it or hold it. People need to understand, why does digital have value? Why does an MP3 have value? Why do websites have value? Like, why do we move from physical things to digital things? Why is it that a couple hundred years ago, if I wanted a song played, I needed to be rich and have millions of dollars, hire a symphony, hire a band, and have them play my song when I want? Nowadays, you can listen to a song for $1 or for free. So when you start to really understand what digital does with information, how it creates new systems of doing things, and how it makes things easier to transfer, easier to access for people, it can start to make it click what's happening with digital. So all in all, this market is complex, but it can be understood within a day, within hours. It just comes down to asking the right questions and having the right people in your circle, if anything. Even me, getting to where I had people in my circle that were nudging me in the right direction. So, take advantage of what you have, the knowledge you have, the people you have in your circle, and just know that no one's going to teach you this. No one's going to make you learn this, right? But there's institutions that are adopting, there's banks that are adopting, there's huge money pouring into this as we speak. And if you just sit around and wait for the price to go to 200 grand, 500 grand, $1 million, 5 million a coin, you're just going to regret it. As this market absorbs trillions and trillions and trillions more, Bitcoin will go to millions per Bitcoin. And smaller communities that today are tiny are going to grow massively. And when adoption happens, people aren't going to want AI coin number 574 and utility coin. they're gonna ask, what's blowing up right now? What's the big one that everybody's getting, and how do I get it? Right now, everybody in the market's trading, but when it comes mainstream, people aren't going to want to all be crypto traders. They're all going to want to just know, what can I grab? What's the best one that I can just easily get into my wallet and that's going to succeed? They're going to want to know what's the highest trust. And when we look at what's been the highest trust the past couple years, it's these top meme coins. It's SPX, it's Giga. So just realize that there's a lot to learn, but if you're asking the right questions, you can learn very quickly what's happening, and you can see anomalies, and you can see what's coming. But at the end of the day, you just have to ask the right questions, and you do have to take action. So I encourage anybody that's been curious about the market to take action, because it's not going down. It's not going to zero. It's going far, far, far higher than it is low. So just keep that in mind. And if you're going to sleep on it, then I wouldn't do it for long. But hopefully this video brings you value. Thank you much for watching.